welcome back. So we're on land, doing a bit of exploring. I thought I'd share this beautiful backdrop with you. So we've come across this, driving, looking for another waterfall, but came across this one, nobody else here, just on the way. So really beautiful spot. We're going to explore some things a little bit more nerdy again this week. But more importantly, we had major problems at sea. We had an engine failure, our turbo failed offshore. So kind of makes my point. Obviously I'm speaking to you from safety. And I personally wouldn't dream of crossing an ocean without a pair of sails. The wind is, all you have to do is wait for it, usually. So it says a lot. Any boat with the term exploration in it that has only got a motor, not interested. So it makes you think. And here we are. I'll leave you with some of Eva's shots and then we'll get into the techie stuff. Myself and Flavio thought it'd be good to have a little bit of fun. This is what it's all about. This is Flavio, everyone. And this is Flavio's family.
Familia.
And so, obviously, Flavio's a bit of a hero in my eyes anyway, but he's helped us out very much. So we're waiting for parts and Flavio's helped us, basically receive the parts. And frankly, it would have been impossible without him. So an absolute hero. And so the least I can do is we can put on a bit of a nice, let's say, aperitivos for now, but we're going to have a barbecue in the beach maybe later on. So we've got the ceviche going on here, which has already been done a little bit. And we're in danger of having a little bit of Prosecco and some cerveza later. So we have a new turbo finally arrived. It's been tough, and this is one of the things that I say to everybody as viewers, just remember this, that waiting for parts to come by the post when you're in foreign countries, it's nothing like what I'm used to in the UK. Okay, it's bad in the UK, but it only took 5 days for it to be sent. This part was sent actually from the UK, coincidentally, but the clearance process has taken nearly 3 weeks. And as you'll see, Flavio, a local gentleman and a true gentleman, has helped me receive the goods. So it's very difficult to do this. What I wanted to do was show you basically how these elements work in the turbo and what's going on. And I'm learning myself as I go along. But turbos, although I love what effect they have on engines and getting power, as everybody does, on motorbikes, which I'm familiar with, I generally haven't had much dealings with turbos. So anyway, what I want to show you is how the principles of this work. So what a turbo does, a turbo uses the exhaust fumes, so the dirty air after combustion, and what it does is it turns a little turbine here, okay, and when that turns, it turns the other side, to the clean air side of the turbo. And in essence, what it does is a compressor. It's just a compressor, but it uses the dirty air to make the energy to compress the air. And so the clean side, as you can see, there's a dirty side of the turbo and a clean side. So what happens is the clean air is compressed and then sent back in before the combustion happens. That's basically it. So more revs equals more you basically get more force. So what you traditionally see when I was younger with turbo cars, you see what's called a turbo lag. So it takes a while for the turbo to kick in till the momentum is created to get that turbine spinning, and we call that turbo lag. And on this Volvo Penta engine, if I'm not mistaken, at 1800 RPM, that's when the turbo starts to kick in. And that's what I see actually mostly on using the revs, is that it doesn't make a whole massive amount of difference until that 1800. Okay. The next question is, why is this happening? And what I've found out is that with marine engines and turbos, on this type of boat, what we'll do is we'll preserve fuel. So at 1800 revs, it's about 1 litre per mile. But as soon as you start pushing the revs up, you start eating into fuel, and it's not as efficient. However, what happens is the combustion isn't as efficient, and you start to create coking, which is carbon deposits in this area of the turbo, and also where the turbo, the exhaust air leaves. So there's what's called an elbow here on this side, and you get carbon deposits forming. So I'm going to have to look at the old turbo and the area where this leaves. And there's a couple of things that I've learnt in this process. Well, I've learned quite a few things, but this is what's called the wastegate anyway. I'll just finish off about the parts and the anatomy of a turbo. But basically, you can see this is an actuator, okay? And what the actuator does is it basically opens this wastegate. And so when the wastegate is closed, the air can go and force the turbine to continue to work and compress air. But if the wastegate is open, then the air can escape like a normal combustion engine does. So you can understand that the freedom of movement of this wastegate lever and the actuator is pretty critical to how it works. And the other thing is, obviously you can imagine if I'm increasing the amount of oxygen in the combustion chamber, what is going to happen is you're going to create more heat, right? So therefore you must use oil. There's an oil inlet and outlet from the engine oil to cool the turbo, and that oil then in turn is cooled by the heat exchanger and the water cooling system of the engine. So that's basically the summary of what's going on here. And I can tell you from what I've seen, this is just a direct for direct replacement. The other thing I haven't mentioned is that sometimes you have a gasket, and just in case anybody doesn't know what a gasket is basically when you want to join two surfaces. So this obviously is going to have screws in it and join another surface, and you can see. So I have a gasket specifically for this piece and this piece, and a gasket basically just joins two surfaces that are probably not exactly perfect, and the gasket, when you close the tension, it just makes that surface flush basically, and a complete closure. So I don't know what wizardry these guys have made these gaskets out of that they can handle all this temperature, but yeah, presumably there's some sort of incredible alloy. But yeah, that's basically the summary of it all. And so I'm sitting on the top deck in the sun's just setting behind the camera and behind Eva, and yeah, I'm enjoying the last of this cool air, because as soon as I go down below, it's going to be a lot of sweat. So it's going to be a lot of sweat and grease, and it's tough. It's a tough side of it. But this is what I wanted to give you an example of what this is all about, give you a basic, quick brief. But this is a part of the boat life. So you must learn to accept, first of all, that you will be doing this maintenance. And secondly, you've got to be kind to your future self. And again, I'm going to make this point in this episode that I personally wouldn't dream of crossing an ocean, especially in remote places, without a set of sails. All you have to do is wait for wind to come, usually. And you have a better chance of getting yourself to safety, like we did here. But there are a lot of ships which have the term exploration, which in my view is simply marketing. So be careful and stick with a sailing boat. And what's important is that it's a good sailing boat. All right, so I've obviously got the core bits of the turbo off. That little bit was connected, and that's part of the induction. So I just had to take this off at one side, got the rest of this off. So yeah, as I confirmed, it kind of sits on top of the engine like this. Then there's 4 bolts which hold that on. And then this goes to the elbow, and the exhaust goes that way. And then this is the oil. And so that's the oil in, and that's the oil out, I'm pretty sure. There's the actuator, and then this is the compressed air flow that goes into the engine and the cylinder head, basically, as far as I understand it. But yeah, so what you can see is, if Eva puts the camera down here, watch. If I turn this turbine, yeah, kind of, see, there you go, you can see it gets stuck a little bit, first of all, so that's that. Probably a bit of Coke, not the time you find in Colombia. And yeah, so you can see pretty badly, this is pretty bad. And then, so there's your wastegate, right? And then, so like you can see probably a bit better from here. I've worked it loose a little bit, but yeah, you can't really see, but it's a bit like somebody with a prostate problem, you know. It's like and yeah, this is obviously a wastegate, so I actually just can't even get that open, that wastegate. Whereas if I take the good looking one, so you can, spring action's working quite nicely and beautiful. Look at that, really easy. All right, and look at this guy. Oh dear, yeah, she's not the best looking. She's no oil painting anyway. But there you go. So yeah, definitely a turbo problem. Like I could probably maybe clean this up a little bit, maybe. But the thing is, of course, what ICI do, or I'm pretty sure it's IHI, sorry, is this turbo. And speaking around, lots of people are not really that keen on IHI turbos as well. So, but anyway, listen, you know, this is, you could probably clean that up and change the bearings inside that, you know, that turbine there, you know, and then change that wastegate. But the problem is they're all one piece, look. So it's all riveted in and stuff. So yeah, it's probably more effort than it's worth, to be honest. So yeah, this whole part online was about £900 or so. Then with tax, it ends up being £1,000. And then just to get it here with all the tax and everything, once we got it to the shores of Costa Rica, then it nearly doubled in price. And in Mexico, Volvo Penta in Mexico wanted to charge me about £5,800 for it. And then there was fitting as well, was going to be afterwards. So yeah, parts for engines is where I got it from. There you go. So you get the pleasure of seeing me in the most disgusting, sweaty diesel mechanic way. So if that's your thing, you're in luck. But anyway, so here we have you can see that I've replaced the whole turbo housing, and here's what you call the elbow, and I just wanted to make sure that everything fit and everything. So I've got the oil inlet or the outlet, doesn't really matter, but I've got to fill this part up with oil, and then I'm going to turn the turbine just to make sure it's got a bit of oil in it. So the turbine's on this side. I'll take the camera off Eva so I can show you. So the turbine's on this side, I showed you before. So I've got to fill that up with oil. This piece I'm going to fill up with oil, and then put this piece back on again with the gaskets. So that's already all connected, and I put the induction back on, and there's an overflow, I figure it is in the induction. So yeah, that's pretty much what we've got to do left. We've got a lot of, inside this elbow, we've got a lot of carbon deposits, and normally you have the water trap muffler, but that burnt. That's the water trap muffler over there. So, but that's actually burnt and got a hole in it. So I was very lucky that I had enough of this. There was an anti-siphoning loop in this exhaust pipe, and I had to pull out the anti-siphoning loop to give me enough to reach the elbow. But consequently, that means if I was in a rough sea, I would get water up into the loop. So yeah, obviously I'm waiting for that part to arrive as well. I've already got the turbo, so I thought I might as well fit it. So that's what we've got left to do, and show you what it looks like when it's finished. Unfortunately, the bleed valve has broken off, and I managed to get it out. And there's a brilliant little tool called an Easy Out, which unbelievably I just recently got one in case. I got the Easy Out, kind of half worked, kind of half didn't, and then I had to drill it through, and luckily I can fish it out. But the next stage is the injectors, and I don't want that to get into the injectors. So with a tap and die kit, myself and either we may make a new piece, or I might create a new bleed valve essentially here. We might just go down. There's a small hardware store here. We might be lucky and maybe able to make something. But I was losing sleep last night, not only from my burning skin from diesel fumes, but also, you know, getting that part, that's a filter housing, getting that part sent to us again will take another month to come. So soul destroying work. So you've got to understand that, you know, choosing a good engine is a pretty critical thing, and the less you use your engine, the better. So again, it comes to my point: a good sailing boat, you're going to use your engine less. Good sails, so a good quiver of sails, be it a Code Zero, you know, all those sails, although they're quite often seen as luxury sails, mean that you won't use your engine. So think long and hard about switching on your engine when you do, and what sails you're going to have. So here we are now. I've just tested the engine after much ado. So big drama. This little bleed bolt sheared off, the original one. I've just put a gasket on it, and she's all good now. So new turbo. This whole lift pump system, you know, that basically put that in. That's working great now, holding pressure, and then once you do this section and bleed the air out of that little hole, you basically then got to see this top one over here. But I think, you know, I've got loads of power now, but not quite the same as normal for me. So I want to change this filter here is the last remaining filter I want to change. But I basically flushed these lines all the way from the fuel tank, which is over there. Excuse the washing machine. But yeah, I just put a lot of vacuum on those lines just to make sure that they're running well. And then once I did that, then they started flowing really well. So that's it. We're on the move again, hopefully.
Hola, we are in Flavio Place with a very nice milkshake, and they have pizzas as well. Flavio, he helped us to get the parts for the boat here to Costa Rica because it was very difficult. And
so big thank you to Flavio.
Yeah, big thank you.
And to Clara, who's here with us now. And he has a place here in Playa del Coco. So if you happen to be in Playa del Coco in Costa Rica, drop in.
This is the name of the place.
50s. And obviously the theme is 50s style. And I can tell you, it's been a while since we've had a good milkshake, right?
Dos.